knits, my name is Emily. I'm a knitter crocheter here in Orlando, Florida, and today I want to share everything I made in 2024. So let's dive right into it. So in this year in stats, I made 6 sweaters, 4 pairs of socks, and 2 additional accessories. And at the beginning of the year, I made a goal for myself, and that goal was to knit a sweater a month and 1 single sock a month, which would obviously result in 12 sweaters and 6 pairs of socks, which I just told you is not the case. However, I feel like I learned something far more valuable, and that is quality over quantity, or as Felicia of Felicia Knits says, I'm on a journey to become a more prolific knitter at this point. That's what I'm carrying into 2025. I knit some exquisite things this year that I am super proud of and I love so much. And I couldn't have done that if I was rushing through everything. So this next year is all about the details and knitting things that I am proud of and excited about and just can't stop looking at, like I can't stop looking at this pile of sweaters in front of me. So let me show you them. Again, they're not the most neat because I was just trying like 4 of them on. But here, is this a better angle? Okay, for the thumbnail. We're gonna start right now with the Rocket Tee by Tanis of Tanis Fiber Arts. And this I actually made a video about at the beginning of 2024. So you may already know about it, or if you're curious about all kinds of details, you can look that up on my channel. But the yarn for this is from my 2023 Advent. So I made an Advent sweater in December of 2023. I opened a stripe a day and it turned out to be a little bit crazy, not gonna lie. And so I chose to use the leftovers of my Advent, arrange them in a Roy G. Biv order that I preferred. And I threw in a little gray stripe and gray I-cord bindings all the way around. And I love it so much, love it so much. So this is fingering weight. I knit the size 5. I knit this from December 26th, 2023, or 28th, 2023 until January 13th of 2024. So that's a pretty quick knit for me. I was super excited about this idea. I used a needle size 3.75 millimeter, which is a US size 5. And the gray is a Knit Picks palette. And then the other colors are from a random knitter stash. So I just bought an Advent on a last minute Advent on Etsy from a random knitter who was giving away minis from her stash. So, oh, that was pretty cool. Obviously it's a lot of stripes. So I used the Weave and Steven method to, to weave in all my ends. Sorry guys. To weave in all my ends. So I love it though. I brought this home with me in Illinois when I was traveling over the summer. It is a perfect spring summer sweater to me. And again, it is fingering pretty lightweight. So it's easy to commute in, to work, to bring around. Sorry guys, words are hard. Okay, we got this. Have I worn it? Yes, I have worn it, as I just said, in Illinois. And on that trip, my sister and I had a little yarn store day. So we went to a bunch of different yarn stores in Chicago, and I got tons of compliments in this sweater, which is always just so nice. People were like, is it a self-striping yarn? And I'm like, no, I did this all myself. Every single color is a different yarn. So every stripe is approximately, let me count, 1, 2, 3, 4. Every stripe looks like it's 4 rows. So again, lots of repetition, but I do think it looks very blendy and very rainbow and very beautiful. So I love this sweater. Okay, my next sweater that I made was the Lace and Fade Boxy by Locatelli. And this could be my number 1 knit of the year. But like I said already, I love every single one. And also just a little tip, I learned this from someone, but I put a little like knot or bow at the back of my sweaters. So I know which side is the back, so I don't have to be searching for those short rows every single time. This one, the arms are a little bit tight, but that's exactly how it's supposed to be to counteract the boxiness of the rest of the sweater. So it always does take a second to get on and just arrange the arms the way I want them. But once it's on, I love it. Love it. Okay, so we're going with this. So again, Lace and Fade Boxy by Locatelli. I knit this in all Knitting for Olive yarns. This is my first time ever working with Knitting for Olive. They were having like a Boxing Day or Christmas sale of some sort. I don't remember, in the end of 2023. And so I bought all these yarns. The main colors are Knitting for Olive Pure Silk, and then the white lace is the mohair. This sweater is the perfect combination. Now, I do think it's super unique, so I don't know if or when I will add another one to my stash, but I love it. In terms of the knitting process, it is so easy, and also the perfect blend. So you've got some simplicity with the stripes, they're just stockinette, and then you engage your mind with the intricacy of the lace, and it was super fun, super fun. So let me tell you the exact colors I used for this. So I knit the size 4. I started this on January 28th, 2024 and knit until March 9th. I used, again, Knitting for Olive Pure Silk in the colorways Soft Peach, Ballerina, Poppy Rose, Plum Rose, and I finished with Rhubarb Juice. And the mohair is the color Cloud, so it's just white. I used about half a skein for every single one except for this top color that took 1.28 skeins, but everything else I used less than a skein for. And the mohair, except the mohair, I used barely over 1 skein, 1.04 skeins of mohair. So I barely broke into a second skein for that. I literally have no notes on this because I just made it to pattern. I love it so much. I brought this with me to Europe this year and I paired it with so many different options. Pink is kind of like a neutral. It's one of my staple colors in my wardrobe. So it just goes with everything. I wore maroon skirt, maroon trousers, jeans like I'm wearing now, like everything. I just love this so much. You can tuck it in if you want a more less boxy look. You can leave it like this. I love it so much. I couldn't love it more, if I'm being honest with you. I did mess up the lace at the top, I think, but again, you can't see it. Who cares? Like, I love it. I love it. All right. Next up is a pair of socks, which I will show super quickly. It is these socks. I am a shorty sock kind of girl. I don't like long socks. I don't wear them. I live in Florida. It is just not something I wear. I barely wear handmade socks as it is. I will get some wear out of them this month in January and a little bit into February, but beyond that, I don't wear a lot of socks. I wear a lot of sandals. So this is a heel flap and gusset construction. I think it fits my foot the best, but it's not the most fun to make. This yarn is from Nomadic Yarns. I want to say it's the colorway In Bloom. The pattern is Weekend Shorty Socks by Summer Lee. I made the size 3. I used a 2.25 millimeter needle, which is a US size 1, and it's Nomadic Yarns Twisty Sock colorway In Bloom. And then the contrast color for the heels and the toes is from Knit Picks Hawthorne Fingering Kettle Dye in the colorway Cattail. So they're pretty. I like them. They're my vibe in terms of color. Moving on. Moving on. Okay, next is the Poet Tee by Sari Nordlund. So this was not in my original plans for this year, although I have admired this top for a long time. But of course, when Taylor Swift announced that she had a new album coming out called The Tortured Poets Department, Sari Nordlund was like, oh my gosh, I have a bunch of patterns called the Poet Variation, and we're gonna have a knit along. You can knit any of her poet patterns and wait for the release of the Tortured Poets Department. So that was my motivation. I purchased the pattern and I knit this from March 9th, 2024 to June 13th, 2024. So I did not make the deadline. I did not stick with the cal. I fell behind and I did not finish this by the time the album came out, but I still love it either way. I made the size 4. I used a needle size US 4, 3.5 millimeter, and this is in Surella Yarn Stellina. So I only used 2 skeins, but it did come out to weighing 214 grams. So I think the 100 gram skeins are just a little bit more than 100 grams. It is the same on the front and back with the lace. It is a boat neck. And oh, I don't think, did I just say that this is an oopsie colorway? So I got these as a mystery skeins and an oopsie. I got 2 skeins that looked very similar to me. So I alternated, after I split for sleeves, I alternated skeins so that there wasn't any weird dye-lot issues. What else to tell you? Oh, okay. So again, this is another fingering weight top that I wore on many trips. I brought it to Illinois with me. I brought it to Europe with me. I wear it a lot because I think the lace is just so stunning, and then the colorway is very neutral. So again, it just goes with everything. I love it so much. I feel like it's more of an elevated piece, which is something that I want to continue as I progress in my knitting, is just making more elevated pieces, because sometimes I just get so into all the color and I love the color, but I want something that I can wear beyond casual, that I can wear like this to something like more fancy or whatever. So anyway, I'm a big fan. I'm a huge fan. I did mess up, but I didn't even notice that I messed up until I was photographing this and putting my pictures on Ravelry. Hold on, I'm just gonna make sure I'm recording. We're good, I'm recording. Okay, so when I was putting my pictures of this top on Ravelry, I noticed that it looks a little bit different than everyone else's. And I don't know if you can see it, but right here, when you split for sleeves, I don't have like a full continuation of the chart. I basically restart the chart right here. Like that isn't supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be like this. And again, you are gonna really have to look at the pattern or know the pattern to be able to see this. It's not something that looks weird when I wear it. Like, I'm still super proud of it. Just showing you the back again, but it is a weird little thing. I do recall being confused when I was splitting for sleeves, what chart to start following. Because there was 2 charts, a front and a back chart. Do I still follow both charts? Do I only follow one chart now? I was confused, and clearly that confusion led to an error somewhere, but again, no worries. I'm still super happy with this, and I love it. So that is the Poet Tee, or Poet Top by Sari Nordlund. Next was another pair of socks. So this was my next pair of socks. I started on April 26th and I finished June 28th. Oh, and also I didn't even show you the first pair of socks I made because I gifted them. So I didn't mention them, I didn't show them to you, but this is technically my 3rd pair of socks of the year. And I used the Fish Lips Kiss heel pattern. Again, another set of Shorty socks. Now the Fish Lips Kiss heel is much smaller than the heel flapping gusset, so these are shorter than the other pairs of socks because I didn't account for the shortness of the heel. So let me just see if I can show you. Yeah, so they're a lot shorter. So they sit a lot lower on my ankle. And I learned that from this pair of socks, that wow, the heels are very different in size. And I didn't realize that. So lesson learned, still like them, still will wear them, but they're very short, very summery, but also that's what the color suggests. This color is Nomadic Yarns Twisty Sock again in the colorway Hello Sunshine. And something I do love about this is that it was a 50-gram ball of yarn. So it pretty much took me the whole, with a little bit of leftovers, but I used most of the 50-gram ball for this pair. And I just don't have any yarn left over, and now I can move on to the next colorway. So that's nice because when I have a 100-gram ball of sock yarn, I usually have to make 2 pairs of socks, of Shorty socks, to use the whole ball. And sometimes I just want to move on to a new fun color, you know? All right, moving on. Now we're in the summertime. This I crocheted. This I crocheted from June 17th to July 12th, and I did crochet it honestly a lot in Illinois on my trip. This is, I think, my only crochet item of the year. I'm pretty sure. It is the Heiress top, Heiress tank by the Crafty MD. So let me put my laptop there. Sorry for keep moving the laptop around, but please live with me. So this was a crocheted, excuse me, I'm gonna say knit a lot, but I mean crocheted on a 3mm hook and a 3.5mm hook. Here's the back. It does have a little keyhole and a button that I really enjoy. Overall, I don't know if it's it's probably a combination of things. This yarn is Theodora's Pearls Oximeter Fingering in the colorway Butterscotch. I purchased it at the Tangled Ball in Edgewater, Colorado in 2023, so a local yarn shop in Denver, or in Denver adjacent. And it is rayon from bamboo. So it is cellulose fiber. It might be my only item, non-wool item of the year. Oh wait, I already showed you the pure silk. So anyway, it is a cellulose fiber and it's very drapey, which I like for Florida, but the armholes are really big. I just feel like it's big. There is a fun little detail. I don't know if you can see that, but there's an increased detail on the sides, which I really love. It's just big. And I honestly recrocheted it. When I think I got like almost the body done, and I was like, these armholes are really big. So I ripped it all out and knit a smaller size for the armhole, but it's still really big. I think I even like crocheted 2 together or something on the armhole, which maybe I'll go back and like crochet 3 together. I don't know what I'm gonna do or if I'm gonna do anything, but I don't get a ton of wear out of it because I'm self-conscious about how big the armholes are, is what I'm trying to say in short. But I don't know. It's very beautiful. I very much love the pattern. I love the yarn. I love the color. I think it's perfect for summer. I'm not an expert in crochet, so I might have gauged wrong. I might have picked the wrong size for me. I might have misunderstood the stitch. Like, I think I'm an extremely loose crocheter, so maybe I didn't go down enough in needle size. Like, I'm sure that whatever issue it's on me, it's just bigger than I'm comfortable with. So, but hey, again, not to like talk bad about this because I love the color and I love the details of the pattern so much. It's so pretty. So moving on. Ooh, now we're on our first accessory. So this I actually started way back. Wait, are we really on our first accessory? Hold on. One more pair of socks. These are my final pair of socks. I knit this pair of socks from July 5th to August 28th. The yarn I purchased at Knitcessities here in Orlando, my local yarn shop. It is from Olive and 2U Twain, colorway You Are My Sunshine. I used 44 grams, so I do have basically 56 grams left over to knit another pair. They're very stripy, very tropical, very colorful. I used the Fish Lips Kiss heel again, but this time I did make a longer top, longer ankle, longer leg. Oh my gosh, words. Oh, and I tried an anatomical toe for the first time. So these do have a right and a left because it accounts for, let's see if I can show you, for the toe. So if you can see, this is gonna go on my right foot because, no, this is gonna go on my left foot because here's where my big toe will be, and then it decreases more drastically for the smaller one. And then here we go again. This is where my big toe will be, and then it decrease drastically to account for the smaller toes. So I really wanted to try an anatomical toe, and I did for the first time. It was really fun to make. I would totally make more. And the Fish Lips Kiss heel is one of my favorite heels to make, but I'm still not certain that it's the most comfortable on my foot. I think that might be the heel flapping gusset, but it's not the most, but like I already said, that's not the most fun to make. So anyway, I'm still on the search for my perfect sock formula for myself. And then I did knit like a big tube that I am going to, for the first time ever, do a cut-in heel and do an afterthought heel on that big tube. But I still have some ways to go, so that's why I didn't finish any more socks, because I was knitting tube, and continuously keep going. So anyway, now we are on our first accessory of the year, and I'm going to take this off so it doesn't clash. Oh my god, another obsession. So this I started in 2022, because if anyone knows, you know. This is from the Mystery Knit Along Stephen West in 2022, his mystery shawl. It was called the Twist and Turns. I started October 6th. 2022, and I actually finished it October 7th, 2024. So I knit Clue 1, which is this. I knit most of Clue 1 in 2022, and then I gave up. Said, oh, this is a lot of knitting. This is too much for me. So I think I knit probably from the top here down to like just 3 or 4 repeats short, so probably to about here, and then I gave up. But I was never comfortable with ripping it out because it's just so beautiful. It's so much knitting. The idea is so clever. I do love it. I just didn't love working on it. So this year I went to Europe, as I've said several times already, and I was going in October, and I wanted a cold weather accessory. And I didn't know if I wanted to bring a past West Knits shawl. I have another one. I gifted one, and then I have one myself as well. But these colors just felt like they fit in with what I was going for with the pinks. Like I was bringing a lot of neutral colors and then pink as my like pop of color, pinks and reds. So I just felt like this would go perfectly. So I pulled this back out, and I was going to Amsterdam. I really wanted to go to Stephen and Penelope, Stephen West Yarn Shop. So I just really, really, really wanted to bring a West Knits, and then to me, this just was the perfect thing. But obviously this is not a shawl. I made it into like a shrug cowl thing. And again, I love it. I love it. Oh, microphone can unattached. Hold please. Okay. So let's start with the yarn. We'll just start with the yarn. Top down. So Knit Picks Hawthorne Fingering in the colorways Darlington and Burlingame, and I honestly can't tell you which is which. And then the green is the pop of color. It's the Knit Picks Hawthorne Fingering Kettle Dye Cattail, so the same as the heels and toes on the socks I showed you previously. And I did originally buy this all together. This is what the shawl was supposed to look like. Like this was the colors that I designated for the shawl. It was 2 colors that like went, and then a pop of color, a pop of contrast was Stephen's advice at the time. So I was just so excited. It was so beautiful. And I realized, okay, there's not really that much more knitting, and shrugs, I think like Jackie Rose from Jackson Rose podcast. It used to be Caddy Jack's Knits, but now she's on her own. But anyway, the whole point is she came out with some shrugs this year, and I think Stress Knits was the one that was talking about it on her podcast, and I was like, oh my God, what if I try and do that? So I just did it. I just modified. So I finished. This is technically a bonus clue, I think. So I did the bonus. And if you can see, this is much more pink than this. It's the same yarn, but it's clearly a different dye lot because the colors are so different. But again, I didn't care. I felt like it's similar. I don't even know what you could see or if you can see it in the video or if I'm making sense. And then the back, again, this is all to, this is all to pattern. Like all of this is part of the pattern. It's just supposed to be, it's not supposed to be seamed right here like I seamed it. It's supposed to have like more wings and be a bigger shawl. But I did what I did and I seamed it. And it's very shrug-like. It's very stunning. I wore it in Amsterdam, and I actually wore it to a museum in Amsterdam. And I think it was a local, like whose family was visiting him there, and he walks by and he's like, that's Stephen West. And I was like, yes. And that was just so cool. And then he must like either work at the yarn shop or be a regular, because he was also wearing a West Knits like slip. I don't remember what he was wearing, and I don't even think he remembered, but he was also wearing a Stephen West shawl. And he was like, oh, Stephen's not in town right now. Are you going to the shop? And I was like, I really want to go. Yeah, I'm going to go later today or tomorrow, but that's okay. I'm just excited to go anyway. So like, it was so cool. It was so cool. I was geeking out, and I'm geeking out right now, but I love when you find knitters in the wild. So that was really cool. I love this piece. This is another one that I'm really proud of. I'm glad I was able to modify it in a way that I love and wear it. So it's stunning. Okay, we are getting to the end. What is next? Oh, another knit for my trip. This was just a hat. This is a Bastion beanie in We Are Knitters. This was a skein of yarn I had extra from a previous project years and years ago, so it was just sitting in my stash. I knit this from October 7th to October 15th. I actually finished it on the plane to Europe. I thought it would be so cold that I would need a beanie, and I wanted a new one, just to be frank. Like, I wanted a new beanie. I have some, I wanted a new one. This is the Bastion beanie by Sandra Saraswati. It was, let me see if it's free, because it was in my library. No, it's not free. So maybe I purchased it. I honestly don't know. I used a needle size 5mm. We Are Knitters, the petite wool. I cast on 18 less stitches than it was called for, since I was using a bigger needle. Oh, and then I ripped out and followed the pattern. Then I finished on the plane to Europe, forgot to bring a pom. So yeah, that's why it's pomless. And I was playing yarn chicken at the very end, so that's why I bound off. So anyway, that's all my notes on it. I like it. I actually only ended up wearing it one day at the very end of my trip in Amsterdam because I didn't need it any other day. But just in case, I wanted to have a beanie and have a special Europe beanie. So, and it was from my stash, so all works out. Let's put the hair back up. Okay, what is next? Okay, there's only two more sweaters. Okay, so this is the Pressed Flowers Pullover by Amy Christoffers. I started this on September 7th, finished it on November 30th, so it did take me a while. I bought this yarn with my sister at Knitcessities in Orlando, my local yarn shop, when she was visiting. I have wanted to knit the pressed flowers for a long time, and I always thought I would knit it in like a spin cycle or a color changing, some kind of hand spun yarn. And that's not what this is, but I still think it's really pretty. But in the future, if I did ever knit this project again, I would want to use a color changing contrast color for the flowers to be more engaging, because all the same pattern, all the same color over and over again, there wasn't like anything motivating me to the finish except for it to be done. And sometimes it's just not enough. So I knit the size 3. I used a needle size 4 and 7, which translates to a 3.5 and 4.5mm needle. My main color is Malabrigo Yarn Arroyo in the colorway 33 Cereza. It is 100% merino wool. It's classified on Ravelry as a sport weight, but I would call it a DK. That's what the pattern calls for, DK. It was in the DK section at the yarn store. I would call it DK. And then the contrast color is Monostel Ergoy Milo in the colorway Meadow. And this has a little bit of a different content. This is technically a DK according to Ravelry, and it is 65% merino wool and 35% linen and flax. So there are like little, I don't knit with a lot of mohair, so I can't really say. It doesn't have the same halo as a mohair does, but it does have little pieces that are like sticking up that are the linen and flax. And I don't mind that at all, honestly. I think this is all to pattern, but like pretty long ribbing on the whole sweater. I think it's really pretty. It's very comfortable. I'm a huge fan of Malabrigo. I did struggle a little bit at the beginning of the pattern, just understanding, because the chart feels like it was copy and pasted from pattern to pattern to pattern to pattern, because she has like so many different versions of the pressed flowers. So I felt like this pattern was supposed to be for the cardigan. And oh, I also did make one modification. So I don't know. Anyway, I was a little bit confused at first, but I figured it out. It wasn't that big a deal. And then you get in the rhythm, and it's very memorizable. I memorized the flowers patterns quickly, and you just do it over and over and over again. I did change one thing. There's supposed to be full-on purl rows, like every 4th row. And I didn't do that because I said, I don't want to purl every 4 rows. That sounds terrible. So I didn't. I do have some texture because I did do a little bit of purl here and there where it calls for, but I never did a full purl row, if that makes any sense. So when it calls for the full purl row, I just did a full knit row. That's all. That's my modification. And yeah, my sister and I knit it together. She finished hers before me because she went up a needle size, but turns out this is exactly the pattern. I am completely on gauge, and I love it. I think it's perfect. I think it's perfect. I love it. I'm super happy I finished it. But again, if I were to make one again, I would definitely take a break and not knit it right away, because all the slip stitches just make it take longer. But also, like I'd already said, I would choose a color changing yarn for the flowers so that I could kind of be engaged and watch the flowers change color as they go. And I think that would just be a lot more fun as I knit versus two relatively solid colors. There is some variation in my contrast, but not in the way that I'm referring to right now. So anyway, I hope that makes sense, but I really like it. I'm a fan. I just don't want to knit it again right away, but I'm a fan. I love it. Also, as I mentioned, I am in Florida, so I don't knit a lot of full-length sweaters, as you've seen, because I live in Orlando, Florida. But one every now and again is still fun, and I will still wear it on the coldest of days. It's supposed to be 19 degrees supposedly here in a week or two, so if that's the case, I'll whip this baby out. Okay, we're on to my final sweater of the year. And if I'm being honest, I technically finished this January 1st, but it's also the reason I was waiting to record this video. So we're counting it as 2024. I knit this with my 2024 Advent. It is from 40 Winks Fiber, and it is her interpretation of a day in a secret garden, which I think is stunning. I love the idea. So we start, I don't have the colors in front of me, but you start at the top with the morning dew, and then you blend into like a brighter as the morning goes, and then we fall into twilight and to evening, and then you end up at midnight. Midnight Umber, I think, is the final color. So I love this. This is a fingering weight sweater. So I followed the numbers for the Gingerbread sweater. This is also the same pattern I used as for my last year's Advent sweater. It is by Espace Tricot. The original designer of the pattern has left Espace Tricot, and she's now Sandra yarn. Espace Tricot, at the time that I purchased this pattern, I didn't purchase it, it was free. But I had since looked, and you do have to pay for patterns now, so it's not free anymore, unfortunately. But that designer is now releasing patterns under the Sandra Yarn Co. brand name, and those are free. So if you like her vibe, go over there, because it's the same designer. What else to say? Oh, okay, so however, I did vary a little from the Gingerbread sweater pattern because I wanted a little bit of a different vibe than last year. I honestly thought I was going to be wearing this inside out, but there's too many yarn ends. I really like the stockinette side out, but I did follow the little bit of a detail, this raglan, and then I don't know how well you can see, but it carries down the side right here. So that's all from the City Lights pattern by Tanis of Tanis Fiber Arts, which again, I actually purchased when it was free, or I got when it was free. It is not free anymore either. But I just combined those two elements of the sweater, because that sweater, the Tanis pattern, is technically DK weight, but this was a fingering weight Advent. And I really like it. Again, it's full sleeve, but hey, that's okay, because we need a full sleeve sweater every now and again. But being fingering weight, it's really light. It's really light. It's like a long sleeve t-shirt. It's really light. I knit one size bigger than last year. Let me look. I want to say it's a size 4. Let me look and tell you. Dun 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 dun. I knit a size 5. And I used a 3.5 millimeter needle. I started it December 1st, 2024. It was technically not an Advent, actually. It was a countdown to the new year. And the one I purchased was only the half box. So it's 15 colorways counting down from December 1st to December 31st. I used all 15 minis. It came with a full skin at the very end, which I chose not to use because it didn't really match with the vibe that I was going for, because at the end, it's a top-down sweater, so at the end I wanted to keep it really dark, and the full skin wasn't super dark. But the arms weren't long enough to end it dark. Well, The arms, if I ended at the dark, would have been here. And that's just not something that I love. I want full length arms. Had some of these lighter colors at the beginning of the sweater left over. So I kind of gradually blended those in. And again, you can see there's a lot more green on this sleeve than this sleeve. That's because I kind of messed up the counting. The sleeves are pretty much identical up until the green, and then up until the brown, up until here, I think. Hopefully I'm making sense. Hopefully I'm making sense and not just talking in a way that's just completely bananas. But I don't mind. I don't mind that there's more green to make this sleeve longer than this sleeve. It's all good. But yeah, I don't know what else to say about this. I haven't worn it yet because I just finished it like 2 days ago. But I hope to wear it again during this cold front that's supposed to be coming. I will probably get some wear out of this one. I don't think I'll wear it with a shirt underneath like this. I'll probably just wear it next to skin. But I think it's really beautiful. It's one of my first real marled projects. And I just kind of went with it, honestly. Like, I had a strategy in my head of this is how I want to blend each color in, and sometimes that worked, and sometimes I just, especially with the sleeves, as I was running out of certain colors, I just did my own thing and deviated from my own original plans. But I love it. I think it's really pretty. Green is not usually my vibe, so it's nice to get that in Advent and do something different than all the rest of my stack of sweaters. As you can see, I'm very into pinks and reds and neutrals and stuff like that. But a little extra color is fun every now and again too. Whew. So that wraps up my 2024 year of making. I hope to have so much more gorgeous, stunning, detailed knits to show you in 2025. I really wanted to post this and make this video as an archive for not only like to share with everyone, but also for myself, just to show off all of my knits, try them on, and talk through each one. But again, overall, I am so happy with 2024's year of making, all the things that I made this year, and I can't wait to just continue this stretch into the new year and into 2025 and beyond. So thank you so much for being here. If you've watched this long, wow, thank you so much. And I will see you next time, whenever that is. Bye, friends. Happy making.